In the fall of 1947, a group of parents whose children had cerebral palsy approached Monsignor Felix Pitt. They asked that the Archdiocese of Louisville create a school to educate their children. Pitt agreed with two conditions: that the parents find their own classroom and that they find their own teacher. They did both. They found a vacant room in St. Aloysius School on Payne Street, and for a teacher they found Mary Mulligan, a 27-year-old Lexington native who was herself impacted by cerebral palsy. And so, on February 27, 1950, we opened as the Cerebral Palsy School of Louisville. That first year, we enrolled 13 children. Just 3 months later, with many problems and no clear answers, we nearly closed, but the parents would not hear of it. They found new and better space in a Knights of Columbus Hall at 5th and Chestnut, where in September 1950 we enrolled 17 children. That same year, Sister Mary Benedict Driscoll came from Cincinnati to become our first principal. She was part of the Sisters of Mercy, a community of Catholic women founded in 1831 in Ireland, and her appointment began a partnership with the Sisters of Mercy that would last for 46 years. In 1961, Reverend John Florsch donated a 2.5-acre lot on Baxter Avenue for a permanent school, and with Al Schneider as general contractor, we were ready for the 1962 school year. 2 years later, Sister Mary Benedict yielded her place to Sister Mary Georgianne Mattingly. Sister Georgianne would be the face and the heart of our agency for 32 years. Soon, though, public policies began to encourage inclusive education instead of segregation, and our last students graduated from the Cerebral Palsy School in 1993. But that was only the beginning of our work. In 1988, we established the day program for adults that continues to operate at Baxter Avenue and that for many years defined our work. In her presentation to the board that launched that program, Sister Mattingly first voiced the Thomas Merton quote that would come to define us. In the end, it is the reality of personal relationships which saves everything. She declared that day that the day program will be a means to an end, the end being growth in relationship, leading to a full, rich life. And for 27 years, that program has provided rest for family caregivers, an alternative to sitting at home, a place for men and women to be safe and cared for in a setting apart from their communities and apart from their fellow citizens. And always, there have been those trademark smiles. But behind the smiles, there was trouble. Under economic pressure, our program grew first to 27, then to 34, then 45, then 50, then 60, and then 70, with the inevitable loss of personal attention and intimacy. And if we look deeper, the smiles hid something much more troubling. Something had gone badly wrong. Sister Mattingly's vision of a full, rich life, with a web of human relationships at the center, receded until, for most, it disappeared. We did good work. Our staff were good people. They cared deeply. But in truth, we're part of a system, and that system is bigger than we are. And if you look at the outcomes of that system, the outcomes are terribly distressing. The outcomes are lives drained of autonomy, lives drained of choice even over the smallest aspects of life, let alone the more fundamental aspects of life. Lives drained of dignity, drained of respect, devoid of the ability to contribute, But above all, always in the worst, is the isolation that the system creates. The crushing, suffocating isolation, the reality of lives lived entirely in special places created for people with disabilities, cut off from the ordinary places of life, and cut off from the ordinary people of life who are in those places. And so the truth is, the system creates lives that none of us would accept. I wouldn't accept it, and you wouldn't accept it. And once you realize that, every organization, every person has a choice to make. Do we continue to do our part in that larger system, realizing what those outcomes are, or do we say, no, not us, and not me? And we've made that choice. We have chosen.